On Tuesday, legislative leaders set their budget priorities for the upcoming 2023 session, which begins in January. That includes $545 million for tax cuts. About $145 million of that is to continue a freeze on a property tax levy that was enacted a number of years ago. So really, they've got about $400 million for tax cuts in this upcoming session. Here's how to understand the budgeting process. Utah has two separate pots of money that lawmakers can use to build the state's budget. The general fund and what's called the income tax fund. The general fund, that's where your sales taxes, gasoline taxes, pretty much every tax goes into that except for income taxes, because income taxes go into the income tax fund. The reason there are two pots of money is because Utah's Constitution says all income tax collections must go towards public and higher education and some social services. Sales and other taxes fund everything else in the budget. The income tax fund, up until earlier this year, was known as the education fund because that's where the money had to go. If lawmakers want to cut income taxes, they have to pull it out of that pot of money, the pot of money that's supposed to go to schools. Earlier this year in the 2022 session, lawmakers approved an across-the-board income tax cut, dropping the state's income tax rate from 4.95% to 4.85%. Dropping it by that much cost $190 million. That means $190 million in revenue that would go into the income tax fund this year and next year and the year after and the year after will not go in there anymore. That's how they pay for that tax cut. Just for a reference point, just so you understand, that $190 million could have increased Utah's per pupil funding by about 5% overall. Utah calls that the weighted pupil unit, or WPU. And right now, one WPU, which is 1%, is about $34 million. So you get $190 million. That's about a 5% increase in that per pupil spending. The amount of money we spend per student is consistently at the bottom of the scale nationwide. So lawmakers have already set aside $400 million out of the income tax fund for a tax cut in 2023.